Hey everyone, so I wanted to show in a video format just what I'm talking about when it comes to day 20 of my 90 days of DevOps. Taking the Ubuntu Vagrant machine that the Vagrant deployed Ubuntu VirtualBox machine that we deployed as part of our Linux few days. This is the reason why we put the desktop in place, so that we could show that experience, that desktop experience for anyone that is wanting to live and breathe Linux. Is going to give you the best overall experience, and you're going to get more familiar if you're using it every day. We know that from a muscle memory point of view. So in terms of this video, it's really going to be touching on how do I customize or how have I customized my local Linux desktop, but then also my laptop as well, and I'll touch through some of the steps. What I've done so far is I've downloaded I've git cloned my .files.git, and in there's a README that goes through the instructions for the custom dev workspace. I'm working on this. This is where I'm really focusing on, okay, I want to automate the whole process so that I'm not beholden to a machine for a very long time, and I can quickly spin them up wherever I want them to be, run a simple bash script or a shell script, and be up and running. So in this so far, I have documented how to change the shell from the default bash in this Ubuntu box to ZSH. Then from a customization point of view, but also a plugin point of view, we're also going to deploy OMI-ZSH. We're going to add some plugins, as I mentioned, and then we're going to look into the Gnome Extensions. We're going to get things looking pretty with our Dracula theme, and then changing the background. All of which, like, pick and choose whether you want to do it. I just wanted to highlight what I am doing, and I've had a couple of comments from some of the videos that I've done around what does my setup look like. So to begin with, we know that I've downloaded that. So let's clear that. But you can see, like, just out of the box, Ubuntu looks pretty bland. I mean, I like the colors, but I think if we're going to spend a lot of time in here, we should ultimately have a good working experience, and that's one of the benefits of Linux, is that you can customize everything. Okay, let's have a look. So before we do that, let's take a quick look. Let's show us that we are using bash out of the box, and with that we want to go ahead and get ZSH. So we can do that simply by using a sudo apt install command. That will go ahead and download that for us. Okay, and at this point we are still very much using our shell. If we come out of here, our default shell is always going to be bash until we change our system to say we want to use ZSH. So we can do that by using this command here. So change shell, supply our password, see that it's still there. But now if we log out, okay, and then we're back into our environment, you can see here that we have Z shell or ZSH, and we've got the choices as to what we want to do. So we can choose to quit and do nothing, and it will just run again next time. Exit creating the file ZSH containing just a comment that will prevent this function being run again. Continue to the main menu, populate your ZSH with the configuration recommended by the system administrator, and exit. You will need to edit the file by hand if so desired. Okay, so we could, like, just for the argument here, we could go through and we could set things like how long does our history need to go back to, what does our auto completion look like, what do our keys do, like what hotkeys do we have, or we could just say at this point 0, let's exit, because we're going to make some settings there as well. So let's do this, and again you see here doesn't look very pretty. It is what it is, but then if we go and run that echo shell, You can see now that we're using that from a user bin point of view. And also what you're going to find is under zsh.rc is that you have a brand new ZSH file. If we wanted to, we could exit out of this for starters. We could then go and remove that file. And my thought process here is that if we go exit and we go back in here, it should come up with that same prompt that we had before. So we could say populate everything that we want. And you can see here that if we now go into nano.zshrc, you've got a little bit more going on in here. However, that's not really where we want to play. So let's also go and open our downloads, our dot files, and our readme. Okay, so we've done this. Pretty simple stuff. We logged out, we logged back in, we've tested that it works. Now what we want to do is go and install ZSH, and I'll leave a link to more detail about ZSH later on. But let's go and grab that. And you see already that our terminal's changed. We can now as well go and again, in fact, let's go and see that. Out of the box, we're going to be using a theme called Robbie Russell, but let's say that we want to use Agnosta. So we can go Control X, and we could then go a source.zhrc, and you can see here that we've changed what that looks like. And just out of the box, there are well over 100 different themes that you can go and choose from on their GitHub. Again, I'll link it. You can see, if you just Google "Oh my ZSH," you'll see a lot of different varied themes out there. So next up, we want to, what do we want to do next? So we want to change the theme to Agnosta. We did that. Then we want to make sure that we get power level 10K. Now, power level 10K gives us some fonts and other functionality that we want in our system. So now if we, again, let's go and nano into that, and let's change our theme again to power level 10K, power level 10K, Control X, save that, source that file, so basically reload that file, and now we get another wizard. So this is the power level 10K configuration wizard, and it asks you a few simple questions. Does this look like a diamond? No, not to me, it doesn't. Does this look like a lock? No, it doesn't. Does that look like a lock? No. Does that look like a taller and fatter like arrows? Yes, it does. So let's say yes to that. Now we get into the smart stuff. Now I generally like this. You'll probably spend a bit more time as to what you want this look and feel to be. I generally choose 3. I generally choose 1. I like the 24-hour clock. I like the blurred effect, even more blurred. I like the one line. I like it compact. I like it concise, and I like it not to be that way. There's a few more options. I generally just say verbose here, and I say, yeah, let's commit those changes. And again, you can see here that we've got our, if we go into a deeper directory, you can see a few of the tweaks that we've made. Now that just to me looks still a little bit bland. It looks great. It's a start, but we want it to look much better. So next up, we want to look at those plugins. So there's 2 plugins out the box. I generally use, there's quite a few. I use things like kubectl and other commands in there. But these 2 are a must, I think. Let's just come out of there. Let's not do that. Let's do that. And let's clone down these 2. So now that we have both of those, if we now go to our ZSHRC, go down to our plugins, we should have Get in there by default. There we go. And we simply want to add, what do we want to add? We want to add in ZSH auto suggestions. So this will, based on things that you've already run before. And then we also want ZSH syntax highlighting. I find that this is really good when you're not using, or when you're trying to find programs that you've not necessarily run all the time. Let's Control X that. Let's say yes. Let's just see whether this actually does work, and if not, I'll update my notes. And it looks like it does. So now when we go nano, or let's say another command, if we go nano p, like there is no program called nano p, so it comes up as red, but there is a nano. If we go to echo, we know that there is an echo, and so on and so forth. ls, for example, they all come up that way. Now if we go and run something like a change directory to documents, you saw there that you can see that documents is already like pre-populated, and to get there we just go and we can hit the arrow button, and we're now into that. Okay, all good. They're really useful. They're kind of like gimmies in terms of we absolutely need them. They should just be deployed by default whenever you deploy my ZSH, in my opinion. Okay, next up I want to look at, I think we do, Gnome Extensions. So yeah, we did all of this. We went back into our ZSH, we made those plugins. Next up we want to run these two commands. One is to install our Chrome Gnome shell, and one is to give us the tweaks. So let's go ahead and do that. This is basically going to enable our system to use the Gnome extensions. So if we do this, should be two of them, and if this goes in correctly, yeah, shouldn't take long. We should, once complete, if we go to here and we type in tweaks, you're going to see out of the box some pretty cool stuff that we can change. Now under extensions, you're going to see just these three things, nothing exciting. So what we want to do, and this is what I do on my personal laptop and desktop, is I head on over to Gnome Extensions, accept that. We want to install the browser add-on, continue and add, allow this to add. That should be good. And then some of the ones that I generally go for, one is caffeine. So caffeine is a way in which we want to disable the screensaver. I'm going to put it on here. It's just a desktop. It's just a virtual machine, but I want to run through exactly what I put on my machines. I also, for my laptop, because I've been massively working on what this looks like, or what the power looks like on my laptop, is that I also include CPU Power Manager. A bit more for the aesthetics is dash to dock. So you see the dock up here is on the left hand side. Some people like that, great stuff. I want to change where that is, and we'll get to that shortly. I also do have something around desktop icons. Now there is one included. I used this one, I think. I'm not going to put that one on, but desktop icons is another one, and then user themes being the final one that I use, which is this top one, and we turn that on. And now if we go back into tweaks, Let's close it. Let's go back into it. And if we go to extensions, now we've got a little bit more going on. And actually up here, because we've installed them, you can see that we've got caffeine here, which is where we can disable our screensaver. We've got our dash to dock. Okay, you can already see that dash to dock has changed something. But let's go into a little bit more customization. In that, okay, I don't want it on the left, I want it on the bottom. And I'm going to bring that down to maybe 70%. I'm going to bring that down to about 32. I'm then going to look at the opacity of that, and let's say 40 is a good place to be. And with that didn't move it to the bottom though. Why didn't it not? I also don't want it to intelligently auto hide. I find that quite annoying. Show on all monitors. Let's see if it's still not changing anything for me. You can see that it's changed the size. We can customize that. I'm going to come back to that. We'll see where it ends up, but I really want that down the bottom here. Is really my focus as to what I want. Okay, what else does our instruction say? So we've been through, we've installed our following, and now we can really start to customize. So what we mean by that is, and there's hundreds of these sites, but this I found is the one that I like the most, is the Dracula theme. And in particular, let's jump in and do the GNOME terminal straight off the bat. And remember, we did the power level 10K, and look how this looks. So the color schemes have been like the purpley, blue, greens, yellows, reds, pinky type colors. Let's go ahead and get those also installed on our system. So let's clear this. Let's make some of those because I want to show you the change. We're going to change that. We're going to jump into that file with the CD, and then we're going to run the install.sh. Okay, please select a color scheme. Yeah, I'm going to go for 1. I'm going to go for yes, I want to continue. And again, 1 is my preference, and yes again there. I don't want to download those direct colors solarized. Feel free to look into what that actually does. Okay, so that's the GNOME terminal configured. So let's exit out of that. Exit out of our terminal. Let's jump back in, and now you can see if we go to, let's go to documents or downloads. You can see here that we've got the same power level 10K, but now we've got this color scheme of Dracula now in our terminal, and we're going to be spending a lot of time in our terminal, so we want it to look as pretty as possible, right? Okay, so I think I just did all of that. Now, if we minimize all of this, we still have this look and feel that looks a little bit bland, a little bit bright. Now we could go into here, we could go to settings, we could go to display or appearance, change that to dark mode. Oh, it looks a little bit better with the icons, but with still this orangey glow. So in fact, that looks even worse to read as well. So what we want to do is actually go ahead and download some of these, a theme for both a theme itself, but then also icons. So what we're going to do is we're going to let's just take some of these and then we'll walk through what they're actually doing. So in here, we're already in download, so we don't need to worry about that. In fact, let me grab this line of code, or this wget command. So if we look in our downloads, you can see .files, which I've downloaded. Let's go and grab that. Then I'm going to, it's easier to show you this when it's highlighted. So then I'm going to use sudo to unzip my master.zip that we just downloaded, and we're going to extract that out to user share themes, and then we're going to bolt on another command, which is sudo move, which move can also be used to rename our folders. We're not actually going to move it to a different location, but you can see here that user share themes GTK master, which is what it's called inside that master.zip, and we're going to send it to themes Dracula. So we're simply changing the name of GTK to Dracula in that user share. So now we've got it. Let's do this. It might, and then with that we could then change. There's two ways in which we can change this. We can change this in here under appearance. We can come in here now that we've got. We should, if we close this and went back in. I'm not actually going to do it this way because you'll see that I am actually working on how do we automate this. But if I go here, we should see our Dracula. I don't want to do that because I want to automate this later on. I'm actually going to use these commands, which are going to set our desktop interface to a GTK theme of Dracula, as well as our preferences to the same. Just again, if we open that folder, you can see what that looks like with standard Ubuntu. If we now run this, we can see that everything just changed over. Now, in here we've still got this not so nice icons. I want to change them as well. So then that's next. Let's go and do exactly the same, but except for on this point we don't have to rename anything. So let's go and grab that, and then we're going to go and move that to our to our user share icons folder. And again, if I wanted to show you that under icons, it's not going to be there. We're going to have to come out of that, but we could use this line of code. Again, this will be linked both in the 90 days of DevOps day 20, but also in this repository. It's there. You can see the README, and as I come and create that shell script, I'll update this directory as well. So now we can change the icons. Now if we go back and minimize everything, these are the old ones, but if we go into a new, we can see that everything looks a little bit more catered for in terms of what we want it to look like. Okay, and then it tells me to log out, but before we do that, let's do one more thing. It tells me here to get clone, so let's display set display settings, change background. We can then say add picture, and I need to change the name of this. Under downloads, under .files, we have this cached image. This is for my widescreen at home, so it might not work out for everyone's system, but you can see here that it looks pretty cool, and actually without me even having to change anything, you can see that we've got our icons. There is another desktop background that I've also include under downloads, and this is what I use on my laptop. Again, you can go out and find as many different backgrounds as you want. I just felt like we're using Ubuntu, so they all look relatively good. So the only thing that I'm really struggling with is to why the dock is not over in the right place, and it says something here, error loading extension. That probably would do it. So let's log out and see what happens when we come back in. And there we go. And literally a log out means that we've got our doc now down the bottom. We can obviously include whatever we want on there. If I want to go to, just to run through some of the stuff, here we go. So the Dracula theme, so we only actually installed, well, we installed the GDK as well. So the theme and the icons that I went through and tried to automate is basically this. I'm just taking that and putting that into a bit of an automated way rather than having to download manually and then extract them out using that command that I used. It just simply takes that and pushes that into the folder that we need. Also, there is a theme that we can add on in here. If we go to themes and we go to, if we search for Dracula, I have a funny feeling that we can do this, add that in there as a, so that's now installed. You can see that the color scheme comes through. So also on here, I'm going to try and make this either a, I need to sort that out. But what you're going to find is that, so there's 240 apps. It's not exclusive to Linux. Linux has 185, but if you are a Windows user and you're not looking to get out of Windows and you want to remain in Linux because you've got WSL, you've got virtual machines, and generally this stuff doesn't really bother you, then but you still like the theming idea, well, we've got lots of different options there as well. So Visual Studio Code is something that I live in probably on a daily basis now. And simply put, if we get it downloaded, again, similar to Firefox, we don't have to do anything. We just go View, Command Palette, Control-Shift-P will also bring that up, install the extension, and off we go. And again, I'm working on a list of the programs that I want to go and install by default as part of my dev environment, so that I can literally spin up a dev environment, be up and running as soon as possible on a virtual machine somewhere, whether it be cloud, whether it be on-prem, but give us that ability to do that. Hopefully that was useful, much easier than reading a massive blog post on 90 days of DevOps, but hopefully that was useful. Thanks very much.